Right. So the meeting for August, the first meeting in August, we've had another new member this last week. I thought it was Simone
Yeah.
Foster. Yeah, Simone Foster. So they've joined. So we've got a new member, and she said she'd really be interested in coming to the meetings, the video meetings, and would it be okay? Well, she didn't say would it be okay. She said my father-in-law would be really pleased in watching it. So I suggested that he could accompany her at the meeting.
Yeah,
Is
why
that
not?
okay with you?
Yeah,
Why
yeah.
not? You know,
Yeah.
the more the better. We hope to see Liam again. Sophie?
I think he's watching Toy Story today.
Oh,
I did ask him,
Oh, yeah.
and he's chosen instead to watch Toy Story with Daddy. So I said,
Oh.
okay,
Your little
maybe you
assistant.
can come in later. Yeah. So maybe
Right.
later. So
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Right. Well, there's been quite a few. I won't go through everything because there's quite a few said they couldn't make it. But again, a lot of them say they watch it later, so they are interested in the videos. They just don't want to attend the live meeting, which can frighten some people. So, you know, I think we've got to get over to people. They're not stuffy. They are a relaxed meeting where we have a laugh or two, and they're not too serious. Okay, we just want to let people know that we do invite everyone, and we'd be glad to see everyone at the meeting. Have we still got Bernard?
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
He's here.
Oh, here we are,
Yeah.
Still
Bernard.
there?
He's
Right.
there.
Bernard
Popped his
wants
hooks,
to, yeah, Bernard wants to announce he's got a new laptop. Yeah. So
Well done,
Bernard,
Bernard.
we did take a long time on it, didn't we, Bernard?
You did, Ron.
Yeah, and then we had to take it back and replace it. So no, but that's good to see you without any problems, Bernard. And we can see the colour of your skin. We can see the colour of your hair. It's not all black and white anymore. and you haven't got to wind up the computer with the handle anymore.
No.
Right.
And the echo's gone.
Yeah, the echo's
True.
gone. That's good. Yeah, so it's been a funny month, really. Good news is, I don't know if you all saw it, but Gillian has got she'll have one hip done before Christmas, so that's good. And he said because that's an emergency, and he does recognise it is an emergency, he'll get it done as soon as possible, which won't be till up to Christmas. That'll be before Christmas, way before. So hopefully we'll get that done soon. So Gillian, and then her other hip will be done next year. Yeah. So they'll do one hip at a time. So that's good news. Sophie has got on with the repatriation ships. So Sophie is doing really well on that. She sent me a proof, which is great, Sophie. I had a look at it this morning, and I'm taking it with me to North Norfolk, and I'll go through splitting the regiments into regiments and units.
Yeah, it's only the first ship for now, because time wasn't with me at times, with Liam being on holiday now, so I had to obviously I did the 2 days, but then I came up against a lot of issues with the quality of the PDFs was very bad, so in some cases the typewriter must have been knackered, or the page got slightly bent in scanning it or something, but I tried wherever possible to actually check, was it a 3 or 8, or was it a 6 or a 9 or something against other records, and to try and match that up, because I know it's important to have the right information, but there were a few where it's just, if I was putting it into something like Find My Parcel or something, it was actually coming up with somebody else. So even even if we put in all the combinations. So for those, I've just put them in red text and then highlighted them out in yellow, so and I've put in a comments column, so why I've done that. So because it may be possible to cross-reference it against some other records.
Yeah,
Because I kept thinking, if people are looking for their relatives, then I need to do everything I can to try and get the right person, but I just couldn't. I tried my best, but it's just like I couldn't find them.
We'll do that. Don't worry about that. We'll get there with that.
Yeah. But it's
I do use my database to compare, but I can also, to be honest, I know the Forces network pages aren't brilliant, but they're ideal as an index, because if you've got a name, you can always look it up and make sure you've got the right spelling of the name against the service number.
That's what I did as well, because sometimes the spellings have been queried on it and people have written on it with pencil. So I thought, well, if I was looking for the way I approached it is that if I was looking for my relative, I'd want for that person who'd done that sheet to have got it right. Because otherwise feel that we're doing a disservice if we can't even get their name right. So I did spend a bit of extra time, but it does slow you down quite a lot doing that. But I thought it was really important. I'll crack on with the other ships. Now I've done that one. At least you've got that complete one to upload.
What you're doing is brilliant. So that'll be good. I still don't know how we're going to do it, because what I want to do is put all the I've got the liberation or the repatriation transports in an index, and I have got them on Britain at war. But I think we want to start collating stuff together. So I think the best way to do it is in the FEPOW family web page. When you click on research, I think we want to have some topics come along the top. So you click on them and go into either the fighting before, or FEPOWs or whatever, or repatriation. So we have different headings and go into it that way. I think that will make it a lot easier to find stuff, because at the moment a lot of my stuff is all over the place, and people get in touch and ask, and then I have to point them in the right direction, which we don't really want. We want it so people can find things easier. I think go on.
Sorry to interrupt you, mate. What repatriation ships are you talking about now? What files are they? Are they the ones for the
American
from Japan?
American.
The American. Right. Okay.
Yeah. We're actually no, we can't. I haven't found him, and this is Tim. I mean, are you still there, Tim? Yeah. This is Tim pointed me in the right direction for these, and they're brilliant files, Tim. So I have put them all on OneDrive. So if anyone wants to have a look, if you go into our OneDrive through the security pages, under I can't remember what I put it under, but it's in the index. I think I put it under repatriation ships or something like that.
I think it is,
yeah. So if you look under there, you'll see all the files, and then you can go into them and blah blah blah. They are very, very big files, aren't they, Sophie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pages, so you just have to sift through. Fortunately, the nationalities seem to be grouped together, but on the because the one I did was the first one, the Empress of Australia, but there are actually 3 separate roles underneath that ship for just the British. So and then the numbering starts again. So I've actually had to put in a separate column again just to say which roll number it was. Otherwise, it'd be more confusing. So so I've done that as well, Ronnie. I forgot to mention that. So you know which one it is.
I did think of another way of doing it, but I think that's too much, and that's going to make it too. Which I could have added another line into the spreadsheet for repatriation. Ray's here. Hello, Ray. Hello. Yeah. You are. Your mic
Calling
is
from
off.
Thailand. Calling
You're
from
still in
Ubon.
Oh, Ubon. You missed all the other pronunciations. We got Martin went through the lot, and so that was brilliant. I can keep replaying that, so I can get the. My pronunciations are Norfolk, so
No.
I don't pronounce them right at all.
There's not many Norfolk Japanese.
No. Yeah. So your pictures, by the way, Ray, great. They were really
very good.
Yeah.
Very good.
That is really good. Yeah. So the fires are coming on well. I could have added another line in my British FEPOW list, but that will mean going back and doing everything again. So I think we ought to keep it separate and have it under repatriation. The ships you're doing, we can have in there as normal, and then we can have the lists of ships and aircraft as well, the same as I've done in the British Britain at War. Any ideas? I'm open to ideas because that's gone through my head, and I've had so much on this week. We just want to make it easy for people to find things.
Yeah. I think it's pretty good now. If you just keep them to repatriation ships, etc., so that they're in one section, so people aren't wandering about trying to find information. I want to know the ship my father came home on, repatriation ships, and the list of repatriated prisoners. If you start, it'd be handy, of course, if they all could be joined together. You put a name and it comes up with which camp they were in, when they were, etc., etc. But I think
that's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
Heck of a lot of
I don't
work.
know if it would be possible in some cases, because this information is so, I say disjointed, but it's not always correct. It's not always there.
No,
so keep it straightforward to repatriation, or like you've got the held ships, you've got those there. You've got repatriation ships. You've got camps, so that people can just go.
Yeah.
I think that's easy.
Yeah, I just want to work out a better index so people can find things better, so they can link into things. That would have been easy to do it the other way, to set it up, adding a line in, because we've got the names, we've got the regiments, we've got the units, we've got everything else there. So that would have been easy to add it on the end, say repatriation, and so we could just put what ship they came in home on. So that wouldn't be too bad. But the trouble is, from my point of view, I've got to go back and redo everything I've just done.
Yeah, exactly. So don't.
That'd be best really to start afresh, I think.
I mean, put it this way, Ronnie. When you're looking for somebody on Find My Past, I mean, I did during the week. I was looking for a guy, and I thought, right, just looking, went down, fine. I've got everything I wanted, all the documents. No chance. There were 2 documents missing, and I knew because of the party this guy was on, I knew which file it was in, and there was another document. So I had to go in to Find My Past and go down to our partners, which is the National Archives. I went in and found it that way because I knew the file numbers. So even they can't get it right, and they've got God knows how many staff. So I think
Find My Past. This last week, Find My Past have been a pain in the butt, because even a simple name.
Oh yeah.
It's on the card as the name, the proper name, and when they put it in the index, it's completely different.
Yeah, nobody's checked it. You've got somebody. They've just entered it in.
Yeah, that's the same as what we were talking about during the week. The M's. I had a hell of a lot of trouble with the M's because there was about 1,500 cards missing, and then so I had to go through each card in turn, which weren't indexed. So that took me ages because I had to go through each one. And if you have a look at the thing in the M's, I put no not indexed, not no card. I put not indexed because the cards are there. They just haven't indexed them.
What the hell
So
not?
somebody who's looking up a file.
Yeah.
So what I did is about 4 or 5 weeks ago now, I sent them a spreadsheet of all the files that weren't indexed and
right.
say, look, they ought to sort it out. So hopefully now, because I think they have sorted it out, but they had the audacity to block me because they said I was using their site too much.
Yep, they've done that to a friend of mine who's a medal researcher.
Well, they blocked me for a day, and then I carried on the next day, and they blocked me for a month.
Yep.
They said I was overusing their site. And so when I sent them the spreadsheet, I sent a bit of a nasty one, but a forceful email with it saying, what are you playing at? Because I'm helping you. You haven't indexed them. You're the one who's causing the problem. And they unblocked me with an apology. So they said, thanks for helping out. So, oh dear. But honestly, I had a name yesterday. Vern, John Vern. And I couldn't find any information. And then in the end, how did I find it in the end? Oh yeah, I used the service number, went through my original files and found that was Earn. U-R-R-R. I think that was U-R-N-N. That was a peculiar name, but how can they get a V into a... Oh, dear.
Because nobody's double checking it, that's why.
No, so the index card
lack
is
of attention
under...
to detail.
Yeah, so the index card is under V, and so if somebody looks it up, they're never going to find it because the name begins with U. Anyway, so find my password by the Mona, which I must say, if I didn't have find my password, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing now. So I can't have too much of a go at them.
I find that places like Find My Pass and Forces Records are useful as a cross-reference, but you can't take for 100% they're correct because they're not. Yeah. Quite often the service numbers are wrong, the spellings are wrong. Even I had one case where the regiment was totally wrong, and you find they duplicate as well. So you get one number and then the same name, place of birth, same parents, another number. When you go through them, so you've got to. I end up normally going to regimental pages and trawling through that way.
Yeah,
sometimes it takes a long time, and sometimes it's easy. But
I tend to use Find My Past. I do use as Forces Network quite a bit, just to cross-reference because that's easy to cross-reference. Because if you have a look at, say, the one I'm doing from the cards and the one FEPOW have done, which I've got a full list of, and if I compare the two, they're completely different. So what I do is say Sydney's SY or SI, you know. So what I do is I look up Forces Network and see how they've spelt it, because most of their they have all the information, and so one might be SY and the rest of them are SI. So I change it to SI. It's the only way you can do it. I mean, we talk about typos now, and I make loads of typos, but they must have had typos as well.
Oh,
so we've got them making typos,
us
making typos, you know. So in the end, you end up with, you know, a bit of a mess sometimes. But hopefully, we are getting there. Now, I'll just go and have a word with Gillian, Keith, if you can take over the meeting, because I don't know how she's getting on with Chris's alarm, because they're in America at the moment, and
right.
So I'm going to have to go and turn their alarm off. next door's complaining that we started at midnight and it keeps going off every half hour. So I'll have to go and do that. Anything else? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Simple things. Well, not simple. You learn as you go along, Sophie. MNs, Merchant Navy. Okay. So they're Merchant Navy, and I don't tend to put any numbers down for Merchant Navy, although they did have a number. I don't tend to put any numbers down for Merchant Navy. I just leave them. So you're okay in doing that. If they're MNs, just leave them blank.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, I just wrote what was there.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to.
And it's the same with boats like the Nankin, the Gloucester Castle. I always put them as civilians. And what I do is I add civilians in where the service numbers are. So instead of having a service number, I just put civilian in there.
Okay, yeah. Because a couple of them did say civilian, but not all of them, so it wasn't consistent.
Some of them might be Royal Artillery gunners that were on the ship.
Some are, but they will have gunners on there. If they are gunners on the Nankin, like on the index cards, they will have they were a gunner or whatever. But most of them are civilians, particularly on Nankin. I mean, they're mostly Chinese and.
Yeah, I figured that they were just staff that were on the ship doing, cook's jobs or, and stuff like that. But I just wrote what was there and hope that we could just sort that out after.
One of them you said sister with a question mark. I think that's Queen Alexandra Nursing. I can't remember the full title, but
is that the one where I'd written sister? Yeah, because it said sister, and I thought, what does that mean? Like sister of? Because it was the same surname as the person above, or was it actually sister as in a nursing?
In a nursing.
Yeah, it wasn't clear. So
Queen Alexandra, whatever. There's a long title, but that is nursing, I think. But anyway, I'll go through it. I'm taking that with me, Norfolk, and I'm not going to do. I'm only left with. I've done the V's this morning. I got the V's on live, so we're up to the W's, which is the last biggest one I've got to do. So we're up to the W's, and actually the Smiths weren't too bad. The M's were the worst because they had them in such a muddle. The B's were long. The B's were the longest one. The Smiths weren't too bad. They worked out quite well, mainly because when you've got a Smith, they'll have a Christian name or two Christian names, so it's easier to find. So that weren't too bad. So I've just got the W's and the X's, and there are some Y's and some Z's, so I'll add them as well. I don't know if there's any X's. I can't think of any.
There's only about 5 or 6 X's, and they're nearly all African.
Yeah, so they might not be. Have they got an index card?
No. I think there's a couple.
Yeah.
Maybe 2.
Yeah, what I'm doing, Keith, is I'm not just doing what the Cathedral done, and the Cathedral just done British. If that was a Canadian in the RAF, they're in it as well. So
that's
anyone.
FEPOW is going to be updated.
Yeah, anyone. Well, I told you don't have to do it because you can use mine.
No, this is for the wall at the Arboretum. That's what that's for.
Yeah. So what that will have is that's got Chinese, that's got a lot of Hong Kong. Hong Kong Volunteer Defence Corps. Yeah, they've got a lot of them.
Police.
Yeah, Dockyard Police, there's a lot of them. So anyone with an index card will be included, okay, which will make it a lot better because we can find out. That's ever so strange. Strange. I'll just talk before I go, and then you can all have a chat without me.
What's up?
Yeah, I started. That was peculiar because you know, when you're doing the cards, you're looking for something else to think about. So I started looking at the occupations, and that was really strange, really strange. Student of literature. One was a student. One of the index cards. The occupation was student of literature, and he died he's buried at Yokohama. Bricklayer, butcher, gardener, hosiery scorer. What's a hosiery scorer, Sophie? Do you know what it is? A hosiery scorer.
Oh,
It's a lady.
No idea.
No,
I don't know what it is.
I looked that up, funny enough, a couple of weeks ago, what that was.
Yeah.
You know, I can't think what it is.
Well, yeah,
Oh,
we've got
hell.
labourers. There's loads of laborers. Scholars, loads of scholars. Milkman, docker, bricklayers, elevator driver, street lighter.
yeah.
That's a
Well, gas
street
lamps.
lighter.
Gas lamps, yeah.
Because you got
Yeah,
to
gas
think,
lights, that what it is.
there were a lot of gas lights about. So we've
Yeah.
got a street lighter.
And if you
professional
look
footballer.
carefully, there's a knocker-upper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought, a knocker-upper? What's a knocker-upper? Oh, it's one of them, used to go around in the early mornings. Come on, get up, time for work.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
Yeah.
it was strange
Yeah.
just to see.
Age gone by,
knocker-upper.
isn't it? Age gone by.
Yeah. We got professional footballer. Now, Dad,
Yeah.
Dad did play for England in the camps. He played centre half. And their goalkeeper was a professional goalkeeper, and I can't remember his name. That began with S.
Sherwood.
Swift. No,
Johnny Sherwood.
I can't remember his name, but he was in goal for England. But he was friendly. I think Dad said he met him after the war. And anyway, so that's cotton spinner,
Comes from
law
Lancashire, no doubt.
student, steeplejack. An occupation as a steeplejack. And this is a weird one. Oh, there's a cowman, and this was a weird one. Undertaker and carpenter. That was a weird one. That was a really weird one. But no, that really.
That's not so weird, Ronnie. Carpenters were often the undertakers in a village.
Yeah.
Because they
Yeah.
knock
the
up the
boxes.
They
coffins.
made the coffins. Yeah, they
Yeah.
made the coffins. Yeah, so yeah. But honestly, when you start looking at the occupations, you see how many POWs were actually service. Now you look nowadays, and there's not much service. But in those days, near enough everything was service. Everything was service orientated until you get to the captains and what have you, and they were mostly bank managers, whatever. They all had really good jobs, but the normal ranks, the ordinary ranks, were mainly service. So
And look,
anyway,
I had one the other day, and he was a lorry driver's mate. There you go.
yeah,
What do you do? I was a mate of a lorry driver. No,
yeah.
used to guide the lorries back, but it's just the
Yeah.
way it's put. Oh, lorry driver's mate. Okay, fair enough.
I can make
Anyway,
one.
Ronnie, go on. Bugger
Cocktail
off.
waiter.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
well.
I had one of those cocktail.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
There ain't
What I
any
had
barman.
the other day was silver service, and that's all it said. Occupation, silver service. Obviously, a waiter.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
said
yeah.
silver service.
Oh, yeah.
I've been thinking for a couple of days at this.
Yeah. But anyway,
Go on, sun's alarm out. Go on.
yeah, I'm going to have to go. I'll leave everything to you. Sorry if I talked, but I thought I'd get all my chat off at the beginning, and then you can all have a chat now without me. I don't think I'll come back on, so I'll say cheerio now. If you stop the recording at the end, Keith,
Yep. Will
and
do.
then I'll do the recording before we actually do go away, so it's on live.
Okay.
But have a good meeting, and thanks again, Sophie. I really do appreciate what you're doing, That's really good.
That's quite all right. It's my
That's,
pleasure to help out. So,
you're doing a good job. So keep it up. I've got loads more for
oh
you to
well,
do.
yeah, yeah. I thought you might say that. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to help. It's the least I can do, really. So,
Oh no, that's good to have some help and get things done. The trouble is, I get loads of stuff handed to me, and then Tim put me in, push me towards these files. And the trouble is, they're put to one side, and nothing's done with them. And I keep going on with what I'm doing and going on to something else, and they're left to one side. So hopefully we'll get things done now. So all of you, I am looking for more help when I get there. When I get this all laid out, I would like to ask some of you maybe to help. Just do one letter. If any of you want to help, just do one letter, and so you can fill in the regiments and what else, little notes at the end. Because that will be, when it's finished, that will be a really good file. It's just getting things done. If you have a look at the U's, because there wasn't too many of them. Yeah, there weren't too many U's and Q's. I near enough went through all of them to show what that will look like in run 2, with the regiments in, units in, and a few notes. And I'm adding died in it as well, and what date they died and where they're buried. I'll add that in run 2. But a lot of
I'm doing
now,
the Burma Sea outside. Putting the name, where they're born, when they were born, what rank they were, number, what regiment they're in, where they were in prison, when the date, where they died, or if they didn't die, when they died afterwards, and of course the next of kin. So they've got all the information on a long row.
Yeah.
I'd like to put more, but you get
you can't.
Too much space is taken up.
Yeah, you can't. And what I did is I left one field called notes, because I didn't want to make it too complicated, because I wanted to get it all on so people could look up, and then they'd be pointed towards the index file, because the number's there for the index file, so they could have a look at that and go on and so forth. But I found out that even though my notes is quite long, the net fusions will only use so many characters. Oh, hello, Liam. Hello, mate.
say hi. Hang on a minute.
Oh, he's there.
Yeah.
Are you all right, Liam?
There he is.
Thumbs up, Liam.
There, man.
Yeah. Well done, mate. I hear you've been watching Toy Story.
Yeah.
Yeah, was it good?
Yeah.
We've got some good characters in this. As good, maybe not quite so good as Toy Story, but some of them were worth listening to. Anyway, I'll leave you all to it. All right, Keith, it's over to you, and
Okay.
I'm just going to say how Gillian's getting
Before you disappear, Ronnie, very quickly, I've sent you an email and I uncovered some medical thing yesterday for your dad.
on.
So you might like to have a look at it, because I've got to go through and just categorise all those files.
Yeah, what was it, malaria?
I
know he
was in Roberts.
I
know he was in Roberts. I can't remember what it was now.
Yeah, he was in before he went up on June party. Before he went on June party, he was separated from his mates. That's why I know, because he came out of hospital. He went with his mates and he was sent up country. So
yeah, I just thought I'd tell you I've sent you that this morning.
Yeah, right. Well, thanks, Keith. Over to you, Keith. Right. See you later.
Yeah, cheers.
See ya. Cheers, cheers.
Right, guys. Interestingly, back to 1/14 of an elephant. I was reading it many moons ago now, and it's one of these books you've got to go back and read again. And he talks about an incident at a particular camp, which was Tamuan, where a soldier was shot on New Year's Eve, 1944.
Right, yeah.
Either by a drunken Japanese guard or a drunken Japanese officer. I can't remember which, because my father recounted that story to me as well. It wasn't until I got a book, I think somebody sent me some papers, and I got a book by Lieutenant Colonel Knights, Group 4 Commander, that there was a Japanese major prowling about the camp.
That's right.
And he wanted nothing at all to do with the running of the camp, which made Knights think, you're Kempatite, and you're here for something. And I was recounting this story to somebody, and he said, oh, yeah, you mean Fusilier-Wanty. I said, do I? He
Yes.
said, yeah, Fusilier-Wanty, the Ninth Royal Northumberland Fusiliers.
Yeah.
And evidently, there is a war crimes report. So evidently, there is a war crimes report. The officer was executed after the war.
Right.
But as an aside, the person I was speaking to, she said, well, in actual fact, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time because he had been going under the wire. And the Japanese knew he had. They just hadn't caught him. But this time he was coming back late from seeing a sick friend, and a light set had been called, and he was out of a hut. So he was murdered, if you like, for want of a better word. Yeah.
I've got the war crimes hard copy somewhere.
Yeah, so have I somewhere.
Yes,
And I was reading
as
it
you said,
a couple of
Wanty.
months ago.
Yeah. Right,
Camera's gone off again.
what's everybody been up to? Who do you want to start with? Kevin?
Yeah, well, I've been doing, as I say, I've been doing a lot of research on my father's thing, but I've been doing a roll call of his company, and that's quite interesting. But going back to what Sophie's on about the working through the list of the repatriation ships, that's quite good. I can appreciate what you're doing, Sophie, because it just depends on the quality of the photocopy. Because I know on Windows 10 you can actually search the documents you can put a name in, it'll search through the documents, but it depends on how good the quality is, if you can find it or not. So that takes quite a bit of time to do that. But the other interesting thing, I think, you know, that John Craven, I think I mentioned this, he was in his father was in my dad's company, and he's just released his book that I think it's been out a couple of weeks, called Headlines and Hedgerows. And he has a chapter about his father being a FEPOW. So that was quite interesting.
All right.
Did you ever get in touch with the co-FEPOW, Keith, to ask for any information on his father?
Every attempt people have made to contact John Craven has met with a deadly silence.
All right.
Don't know why, but I know they were trying to get in touch with him because of this, to get his backing for this petition that was going round.
All
No
right.
luck.
Yeah.
Absolutely no luck at all.
Yeah, because I was thinking about getting in contact with him and let him know that he can have a look at my website and he can see.
Give it a try, mate. I would.
I'll try. I'll do that. I'll get in contact with him.
Yeah, I would.
He's doing a book signing in Blenheim Palace this weekend.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. Bit too far to go. So anyway, yeah. So that's what I've been doing. It's still some work. I've had a bit problem with my computer's been playing up a bit, so that's put us back a little bit. But the research is quite good. It's quite interesting. But just like Ronnie says, there's a lot of you can find a lot of information, and it's like spread up all over the place. And what I've been trying to do is put links. Say like a man's on the roll call. I've been trying to put links to different websites, so there might be a link. He was on a ship that Ronnie might have on his website. His questionnaire, which is on the co-FEPOW website, I put like a link in for that. So I'm trying to put like links to these different websites. So it's amazing how many different websites have good information in. And it's like Ronnie was saying, to try and amalgamate that into some sort of index, if you like. If like somebody's trying some information about somebody, you might know that as a website, about it has that information about his father. So I'm hopefully when this is all working out okay, people will be able to click on it, and then they can click on this website, and then they say, oh, hey, there's a website here. It's got all this information, extra information on. So that's what I've been trying to do, and it's coming along. I've still got quite a way to go yet, but it's coming along quite.
Yeah. Oh well, that sounds brilliant. Well done. All right, who should we have next? Who should we pick on next? Ray.
Well, the reason I'm late is because I've just been to a funeral.
Oh,
and
right.
A Thai funeral is very, very different from the funerals that we might expect. But this, I've been to 3 or 4 now, but this one was very different, and it reminded me of the FEPOW camps, because the funeral pyre was in the open in the temple grounds. They didn't have a furnace, so they made a pyre out of wood, and the coffin was put on top of the pyre, and after the service was the pyre was set alight, and it just, it was a very sad occasion, but it just reminded me of maybe what it was just a little bit like in one of the camps. So that was an experience. But on a sort of better note, I spent a bit more time on the airstrip yesterday, doing a bit more digging, and come away with about 100 weight of shrapnel. Well, not 100 weight, but quite a lot of shrapnel. And I've just got so much of the stuff now. I think I've just reached the end. There's still loads more to dig up. In fact, I found some quite good pieces on the surface yesterday. Didn't have to do any metal detecting at all. It was just lying there. Right. So I've got all of that. And what else? I think I did tell you that I'd found another airstrip that was used by the SOE in the form of Major David Smiley, and it was mentioned as the main airstrip in the area, a place called Heston. Oh, that was the name given to it. The town is called Nakua. We ended up there and hadn't a clue where this airstrip might be. And we saw some policemen in the grounds of the hospital. So we drove the car in, and my wife asked where the Seritai airstrip was, and the policeman said, "You're standing on it."
Great.
This was a big camp that the Seritai had organised, and there was over 1,000 men in this camp, and the village and surrounding villages actually made this airstrip in 6 weeks. They really knuckled down and worked 24 hours a day to make this airstrip. It's still there. It's in reasonable condition. It's what's called a laterite surface, which is like a red stone. But it's bumpy, but I'm certain that you could fly in there on a microlight or something like that. Certainly not a Dakota or a Liberator, but it's all there. It's just brilliant. And
great.
I'd love
Even
to go
after,
back.
After all this time.
Pardon?
After all this time.
Yeah, 75 years or more.
Yeah.
And it belongs to the Thai Air Force, the land there. There's a notice saying it belongs to the Thai Air Force. And I'd really love to go back and have a good search around the place, because alongside the airstrip was a camp that was run by the Seritai. This is the Thai resistance movement, and it was a busy camp. In fact, it was the camp where Major Smiley had his accident with his exploding briefcase. They were trying to escape on the information that the Japanese were about to enter the camp. They'd been rumbled, and it was making a hasty exit, stuffing all the confidential papers into the special briefcase, which had a false bottom in it. With he activated a fuse, which set alight the cordite in the bottom of the briefcase, and it kind of blew up in his face, and he had to be evacuated out of Heston back to India. It took about a month for him to recover, and when he came back, it was just on the dates the first atom bomb was dropped on Hiroshima, and so his brief changed from supporting the Seritai to actually liberating the camp at Ubon. Well, that's the story. Yeah, so that's about it really. Been busy. I'm coming back home. Back home to England tomorrow, and that's about it.
Have a safe journey home.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for your photographs. They were good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I've got quite a few more, so I'll have a rummage through them and send some more, especially of the shrapnel. I'm sure you'll be interested in it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd love shrapnel. A couple of pictures. You're not going to bring that home, are you?
No. I think I might just secretly bring one piece home, but the rest of it belongs here. But to be honest, I really don't know what to do with it. The Thais don't really seem interested in the airstrip or its history. I'm involved with a local group in Ubon, and things only happen when I'm here. They don't seem to do anything when I've gone, and all the promises that are made.
If you tell them there's Japanese gold buried there, they'll be in there with diggers tomorrow.
I should start a rumour, shouldn't I? Yeah. No, but I've got quite a bit of stuff now from the camp and the airstrip, but it's safely in the room upstairs. But I really don't know what to do with it. So. Suggestions on a postcard, but keep them clean, please.
Thanks, Ray.
Okay.
Martin, you're about to be called by a higher authority in a minute, so what have you been up to? It's got to be your dinner time soon.
Oh yeah, it's getting close. Yes. Yeah. Just normal stuff really. Getting distracted doing other stuff from what I was doing previously, and then getting distracted again doing something else. So been pretty busy reading a lot more on war crimes files, and that really sort of links back to the trying to do this in-depth research on the camps at Tarkanoon, which is my ongoing sort of project. But since I've been getting involved in checking out Pond's party camp, the F-Force camp at Tarkanoon, it sort of led me to do a lot more research into the Australian war crimes around that area, and of course then I've been distracted and then sort of reading a lot more about Group 3 and Group 5 at the same time. So sort of been running around in circles actually. So but it's all interesting stuff, and there's some fantastic stuff that you can actually access on the Australian National Archives website. So that's been pretty interesting, just to go through some of those war crimes files there. Talking of Fusilier Wanty, he's actually that's the cases, the war crimes cases against Totaro Mitsutani, and that file is on Legal Tools, that website that you can access. But I've actually just tried to access in there, and for some reason it's the site's down for some reason, but all of that file is on that Legal Tools site. So that's worth having a bit of a browse as well. Outside of that, just business as usual.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Right, Bernard, you've been very quiet.
Got to be, Keith.
Oh, right. Been up to anything much at all, or just taking it as it comes?
I haven't been very well, and I've been setting up this computer, nearly pulling my hair out, and then I had to take it back. There was something wrong with it.
Oh, God.
They replaced it anyway, and
that's good.
This is okay now.
Hopefully.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Don't speak too loud too soon. Right. Tim, what have you been up to?
Not that much really, but I do have one little bit about I don't know whether you call it accidental research, but because my father was captured in Java, and it's actually quite difficult to find out any information. I stumbled across a file at Kew called the Java Story of 21st LAA Regiment by Colonel Saunders,
Yep.
which you'll probably well know. But my father was actually in the 35th Regiment, LA, which came down from Singapore to defend the oil fields and airfields in Sumatra. And then they withdrew down to Java when they got attacked by the Japanese paratroopers. And then it all sort of went blank, and I really didn't know what happened. But anyway, I was reading this 21st LAA one, and all of a sudden I found out right at the end that they'd set up their guns, and the 78th Battery of the 35th was sent in as ground protection troops. So I actually now know exactly where my dad was right at the very end.
Grief. Yeah.
And I'd say it was completely accidental, just through, reading around. It all suddenly, as Ron said, another bit of the jigsaw slots in.
It is very, very weird. I mean, I think it was 2017. I was going through liberation questionnaires, and I've been going through them for years. And I just came across one, and it just took my breath away, because it was the first one, apart from my father's, where he is mentioned, and he's mentioned as being a hut commander in Tackley Camp, the last camp he was in.
Mm.
And I've been going there for what? Well, at that time, it would have been 18 years. It's ridiculous. But we're trying to get all the questionnaires on there. We've set a target date, so I think FEPOW are ramping up. We've got somebody else that seems quite happy to help us, so hopefully we'll get all those online pretty soon.
Yeah, they are useful when you're looking for other people.
Very useful.
Yeah.
But one of those days yesterday, nice little 2 pages of stuff to look for, and there's about 5 that they weren't on file. So that's the way life goes. Bit disheartening, but at least I know one way or another whether they're there or not. Right. Matt might think he's escaped, but he hasn't.
Damn, I'm going. What have I been up to?
You still plodding on, are you, Matt?
Yeah, well, my son came home last Monday from Brunei. Right. He's only a flying visit, so he could steal my car. No, he got married in Brunei and left his bride there. He's come back here, so all week it's been trying to sort his stuff out and whatever, because he leaves for next week. It's my aunt's birthday, so we're going to Wales. He's coming with me. And the day after, if we go to Wales, I've got to take him to Bristol, where he's meeting with a friend and going then to the airport to go to Azerbaijan for a year.
Oh, right.
So I've had a mixed week, really. Busy with him, busy with. I was told on Wednesday that I'm going to have new knees, finally. Hopefully one before Christmas, and the other one next year sometime, which will be great, because it means I'll be able to get up and sit down and things like that, which I can't do very well at the moment. And other than that, I've just been plodding on with trying to build up the Burma SEAC site that I started some time ago, which is listing everybody, basically. If they fought in the Burma, Southeast Asia area, for the British forces, whether it be Australian or Indian or African or Japanese, believe it or not, there were 6 Japanese that fought for Britain. Thai, they're going on the list. So the King's African Rifles, which is now the Rhodesian African Rifles. The information is not easy to find. There's some, but not a lot. The 81st and 82nd Divisions, Royal West Africans and Royal East and East Africans. Again, information is there, but it's It's hard. But I'm getting there. But someone said to me earlier this week, it's fantastic what you do, but when is it going to be? You've got another year. And I said, God, no. I said, so far, it's taken me this long. I ignored it for a little while because I left it for people to add. What happens is people that were adding and then, I've made a mistake, and deleting stuff and deleting other people's information.
Oh,
So I
no.
had to go back through it, and now I've put, please, if you put stuff in, which you're welcome to do, and it's wrong, don't delete it, just send me a note and I'll change it.
Mm.
But, there's 195,000 names I know of that have got to go on this list. And you think, I'm never going to finish it in my lifetime. But there you go.
Yeah, I've got somebody I'm looking for some information on in Burma, so he never came back. Somebody did send me some info, but I got in touch with him again, but I've heard nothing at all. This particular guy, I believe, died in Rangoon jail. So I'll have to try and do some digging there.
But, I've noticed it. Records, especially, when all the records, I think, were written after the event, of course.
Mm-hmm.
There's no one there sat on the sidelines going, and the Japanese shooting.
Yep.
No, it's all gone after. And, of course, memories have changed, facts change, and people have differing versions. And it's difficult sometimes to know what actually happened, if it did happen or if it didn't happen. And it takes a long time to sort out. And again, with people's names, ranks, serial numbers, they're all, I think his name was Smith, spelt with a Y, and it wasn't. His name was completely different, but that information is, so you find, I don't know, well, you know it as well. You're going through and you've got to double and double and double check.
Yeah.
And quite often I think I've done something and a couple of weeks later I go, that seems familiar. You go back and what you thought was correct and you got it. There's something there that's saying different. And you're going, I've got to start again now. Double check it, treble check it. I mean, the files I've got a hard copy. Because since 18 months ago, my other computer crashed. I now have hard copies of everything. I have their bedroom is literally floor to ceiling files, ring binders I've got Japanese POWs, which is, I think, at the moment, it's 7 files, ring binders, and then I've got, it goes on, there's so many files, and of course I've got information that I may have had some time ago, when I first started doing this, which is after I had my strokes, and that's all far away, but it's all haphazard and really awful. I can't read some of it. So, yeah, I keep plodding on doing my bit. I've no idea what I'm doing, really.
No. Sometimes you get like that. I'm afraid you sort of, what am I doing this for? Very true. Sophie, are you still there? Sophie still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, so I've been doing the, obviously doing the ship rolls. I've been trying to do some research to see if I can try and establish what ship my dad actually came back on from Ubon. I'm pretty sure it would have been the SS Orbiter, but because I've tried to track down the ship rolls, but I think those don't seem to exist. Ronnie said that he thought they did exist somewhere, but he didn't know where they are.
As far as I know, Sophie, they are not at the National Archives at Kew, because we've been looking for them now for God knows how long. We have one ship, the very first one to come home, the Corfu. We know when it docked. We know where it docked.
Yeah.
No file for it. So it seems that the military were under a different
I did try the Pacific. I looked up the Pacific Steam Navigation Company, and then happened upon this historical society, which documents all their history and records. So I thought, and there was an email address, and I thought, well, I'll just email it.
Yeah,
And
why
this
not?
guy came straight back to me, and he was actually really interested, and he said, if you find out, and he said that their headquarters was in Liverpool in a hotel which is now called the Titanic Hotel, I think. And he said all the records would have passed to the is it Merseyside Maritime Museum? So I
Yes,
so
that's
I
right.
emailed them,
Yeah.
and they've sent me a file which sort of is a listing of all the information they have, which I'm quite happy to share with people. But I don't think it contains any ship rolls, because it would just be nice to
It's the
just to be able to
last
compare.
piece of the jigsaw that's missing,
Yeah.
and there is no way, because on my father's record, and there's two other guys as well, he makes reference to roll number, a date, and Rangoon. So we can tie
So
we can tie that up with
yeah.
when the ship left and when the ship arrived. I know that much. But if they haven't been destroyed, they've got to be somewhere. The same with the Rapwe records. Where are they? They've got to be somewhere. This is all the interrogations of the POWs.
I don't. The Marine Museum in Liverpool has a lot of records, but I had a feeling. I don't know when this comes from, but the Merchant Marine Association, which is was based in Preston a long time ago for God knows what reason, but is now, I think, in Southampton, did have, although it passed from Liverpool docks and Preston docks, the shipping manifests of incoming and outgoing shipping. Whether or not they still have it, I've no idea, because I've not. But that's from years ago, where Preston docks was shut down, and they literally threw out everything. And my dad, who used to go past the Preston docks on the way to work, became a skip rat and started books, harbour books, to bring them home, and diaries. And one of the diaries was a manifest of a returning ship which has been sent to Preston, diverted to Preston. It was supposed to go to Liverpool, and that brought back POWs from Japan. But they'd come back via Australia and America, and then Canada, and then sort of short up. They're supposed to go to Liverpool, got diverted to Preston, and he thought, because he was first over there, of course, he was like, I can't throw this away. And we kept it for years until a long time ago, because it's before he died, and he's been dead a good long time now, and he contacted someone, and that was from the Merchant Marine Seamen's Association in Southampton, and they said, "Oh, we'd love to have it. We've got all the other records." We were showing, because at Preston they just literally threw everything without, and we rescued what we could, but a lot disappeared. Could you send it to us? And he did do. He sent us six books. He sent to them.
It's not the first time
that's in Southampton. So I don't know. That's only from memory. I don't know whether they're still there, what happened to them, or whether they've changed their names. I've no idea.
No. Okay, but it's worthwhile following up. But it's not the first time I've heard that. I've heard the MOD have been destroying records. Sadly,
I know the MOD too.
I've heard there was another area where there was FEPOW record, lots of records kept, and the order was given: every sixth box, destroy. Don't even look at what's in it; just dump it. And this is what I'm picking up from some of the medal guys who've been doing this for 30, 40 years.
That happened a lot during the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
With a lot of government departments, they were just told to randomly, anything over, I think it was 15 years old, they could randomly dispose of, but they couldn't consecutively, one from there, one from there, one from there.
Yeah.
And they were sort of lost. They weren't destroyed, they were lost
Yeah.
or sent to the basement.
God. But, right. Okay, guys. Should we call it that for the meeting? Or is anybody? Sorry, somebody.
Yeah, I was going to ask Sophie, that list you got from the Maritime Museum, does it have dates for ships arriving at Liverpool?
I don't. It's just seems to be a listing of the information that they hold. So it's a I can't remember whether it's just a PDF file or a Word file, but it just shows shows what the contents of what's there, so I could see what was there. I did. I think there was one of a Facebook post on one of the sites, I think somewhere, where somebody was asking similar questions, and there was a lady who'd come back and said that somebody had helped her because her dad, his last camp was Ubon as well, and I picked up from some of the literature that I think Colonel Tousi had actually insisted that everybody came back on the same ship. And she said, that by that virtue, you could assume that your dad probably came back on the same ship. And she said it was the only one they could have come back on because the dates worked out. And I said, well, how do you know that? And she said, well, somebody had worked it out for her. And then somebody put a link to a site with all the ships listed.
What date did your father come back? Do you know what date he arrived in the UK?
No, I don't know how to check that. I mean, I know that the orbiter docs
Army service record
on the. Yeah. So if I got a copy of his Army service record, that would show.
It might well tell you back in UK. 9th of November.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I think I'd have to get my mum's permission to do that. But there's no problem with that. She'll just sign the form for me. Yeah. Yeah, because I've asked her about what she knows, and I mean, she was 20 years my dad's junior, and she said virtually nothing.
If mum writes her it, she doesn't get charged.
Yeah.
Because she's a widow.
Okay, right. I'll ask her to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So you've got that one. The other one, I've got a friend whose grandfather was at Ubon.
Okay.
So I can find out what ship he came home on, most definitely.
Yeah, because I did check I looked through some of the liberation questionnaires and obviously used, Ray's camp roll as well.
Mm.
And then it's just sort of where I've picked up bits, because it's just like bits of a jigsaw, just try to piece it together.
Yeah.
And all the other people who I found who were there came back on that ship. And I thought, well, could I just assume then that he probably did as well? I don't know. It's very difficult to know. I mean, my older brother, he's 24 years older than me, John. He's born in 1948, but he doesn't know much at all. And obviously, his mum, my dad's first wife, is dead now. So, my younger brother said to me that he thinks my dad actually talked a lot to my mum's parents. Because they were more his generation, obviously, because there was a big sort of generation gap there. But sadly, I mean, my grandfather passed away in 1998 and my grandmother 2004. So everybody that would know is kind of, they've taken that information with them to the grave. So it's just trying to, occasionally you read something in a book or something on a website and you think, well, that correlates with that. So maybe actually my dad was doing the same thing as them, but it's difficult to know because you don't know for sure.
It's difficult to know, and I think it would be every single one of us can actually say that our fathers didn't discuss war with anybody really. Not only my uncles. My uncle was a prisoner of the nice people, the smiling sun country. And he never, ever discussed it. And he died early. As a father fought in there and luckily wasn't a prisoner, but had some really horrendous things happening. But again, he never discussed them. Then again, my mother's uncle, not uncle, cousin, who was also a prisoner and worked in the seal in Japan. I can't remember his name now. Or whatever, but near the docks. And the only time he did discuss it was, I was thinking about 14. And he said to me, we were talking one afternoon, he just said, of course, he just said, yes, never get ill. I said, pardon? He said, the last person who was with me got ill. And the Japanese just threw him straight into molten metal. And I went, I don't know where that came from or why that came from. But he just said, memories, he said, terrible things. And that's all he ever said. So I think a case with, for a lot of us, I know especially me, it's a journey, it's an adventure. I'm learning stuff all the time. You don't expect to know. It's not a question of, oh, Daddy's gone to war, Daddy's come back. It's what the hell happened in between.
Yep.
You're finding that out. And some of it is shocking, and some of it is absurd. Some of the things that went on. But, it's why do I do it? Why do anybody? I do it because I care about my father and I care about his history and the fact that we didn't know any of this, and finding out is something I can then pass on to my children, and hopefully it's helping other people when I can tell them about their ancestors or their granddad or whatever. That's why I do it anyway. I'll shut up now.
Right. Are you happy now if we wind the meeting up?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Get dinner time.
Yep. You've been summoned, have you?
Yep.
Okay, folks. Nice. I think
All right.
Ronnie will probably set the meeting up for 2 weeks' time. If he does, and it's on a Saturday, I shall be in Glasgow. Sorry, no, I won't. I'll be in Edinburgh at the tattoo. So I probably
Well, make your
won't.
mind up. If you're in Glasgow,
No, it's definitely Edinburgh. Okay.
Well, take care, everybody. Thank you very
And
much.
you. All right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.